now. You have to carry dictionary and be, trying to check what cumulative exponentiality means, but yeah, from my own little understanding is, how the little things can add up to big things. And I have many examples of that in my personal experience. And for me, I've always believed that it's not the big things that makes all the difference. It's the little things on a daily basis that you do. In fact, I think a lot of people have said that it is your future is in your habits, which means the things you do consistently eventually adds up to what you call your future, which means to a large extent, our futures are predictable. The things you do, the things you invest your time, your energy, and everything to will determine what you will be like, right? And if we even go into the Bible, you can see how the Bible repeatedly gives us this perspective, right? The popular one that most of us will know, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's not so he will be, it's so is he, present continuous tense, right? This is not an English class, but it's very important to understand, the context of language, because language is powerful in communicating meaning, all right? So if it's saying that the thoughts in your heart produces the results in your life, yeah? And that's why you have to be conscious of that, because that will then help you to choose your thoughts wisely, control the flow of your thoughts, because beyond anything else, you are the architect of the life you are creating. All right? I know many of us being in a society where we are taught that there is a day in the future where you would have a breakthrough. That concept has never made sense to me, because even the word breakthrough, I don't know what it means. It's always confusing me when I hear people say it. And that's why a lot of us don't take responsibility for our lives. We don't take our life by the scruff of the neck and drag ourselves to where we deserve to be. Now, one of the things I always like to say is that it's important for you to understand that you're not trying to be successful. You are already successful. God already created you and put everything that you need to become all that you can be inside you. Which means when you take a seed, inside that seed is all the information and everything, the programming and everything that it needs to become a tree or a mighty forest is right there in the seed. But until that seed goes into the ground and dies, it's not going to become what it can be. So the question, therefore, is, if we don't go through the process, how are we going to be able to produce the outcomes that we desire, or that we deserve, or that we are designed for? All right? And that's why it's important to understand that there's nothing in the future that will automatically or magically make you into, whatever you dream about. It is in the things you do on a daily basis, in the choices you make every day, in the conversations you have, in the things you decide to invest yourself into, right? And I'm going to share a few of my, different stories of, how I went from very humble beginnings to, a much better station in life. And so I'll start with the first one. So this story is situated about, about 18 years ago, right? And I'm sure many of you are wondering, this man is an ancestor. Don't worry, I'm a youth too. I'm just a little above 40, so we're good. So 18 years ago, I've always been the one who believes that you're going to become what you invest your time and energy into, right? So at that time, I used to live with a friend of mine, and we decided that we were not going to be poor in our lives. But at that time, of course, nothing looked like we can escape poverty. We were talented, we were, because me, I've always been this guy who learns everything. I'm always, chasing new skills, new abilities, But both of us decided that we're never going to be poor. And when we asked ourselves, what do we need to do to bake this into our psyche? So around that time, I stumbled on a video about the lifestyle of billionaires, all these big guys, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and all those guys. And then we started every day to watch that video. I think the video is about 48 minutes long. We watched that video every day for 3 years. Every single day. In fact, it got to a point where we could recite the video from the beginning to end. Every word that was spoken in that video, we could recite it from beginning to end. But you see, for those 3 years, nothing changed. But something had happened in our brains, in our minds. Now, we have gone from that point to a point that even our parents are shocked by the results that we have been able to produce. Because given the backgrounds that we have, there are certain things that we're not supposed to, be able to touch. Do you understand? But because of what had gone on in our minds, between that time when all that time when we were watching those videos, we were getting ourselves into different things. We were doing different work, from painting houses to, carpenter work to, we sold fufu self. Yes, we used to come to Abeokuta to carry fufu and sell in Ondo State every day. We sold gadgets, so we did all sorts of things. We just kept looking for, and at some point, in fact, interestingly, this CBT that is now, all over Nigeria, we were one of the first set of people who programmed that idea, but we didn't have any connection, so we couldn't sell it, but we kept going, we kept doing what we were doing. But remember, because of how we have programmed our minds every day, feeding our minds with, so we were looking at every day, we're seeing houses with beautiful pool, so all those things were forming neural pathways in our minds that ensured that when we now begin to move in that direction, we will not have resistance. Now, let me give you an example. If I told you now that I want to give you 100 million, you will be afraid, not because the 100 million is a threat to your life, but because you don't have the pathways in your mind that can accommodate that. Do you get what I'm saying? So just the mention of that figure will startle you, it will scare you. Are you getting what I'm saying? And that is why you need to understand that your mind is where it all starts. In fact, I always say that the creative engine of your life is your mind. If your mind does not agree with the dreams of your heart, you are never going to achieve it. And how do you program your mind to come to that place of, resonance with the things that you desire? It starts with what you do every day. What are you taking in? In fact, it got so real that me and my friend, we never use words that suggest lack or poverty in any way. So even in an example, you can't use us as an example of poverty. In fact, they know if you use me and say, let's assume that you are poor, we are going to have a fight. I will tear my cloth and beat you up. That's how bad it was. And this was deliberate because we understood that when you accept certain things, it becomes difficult to change it. So we made a resolve that there's certain things you're not going to bring into my consciousness. There's certain things you're not going to say around me. There's certain, in fact, I was saying in a session yesterday that there's certain music I don't listen to. Do you understand? So what I did is I went and studied what rich people do that make them stay in that, in that environment, in that, you understand? And I started to put it into my own life. I started putting images in my environment that signals to me that this is the life that I want. The kind of house I want to live in. I used to say several years ago that one day I'm going to have a pool in my house, and my children love to swim a lot. So I made it a life mission to get that done, right? And interestingly, 2 years ago, I had a lot of plans starting of the year and nothing was changing. But every day I would go on YouTube and watch houses with pools. Every single day. I will go on YouTube and watch different luxury houses, all over the world. And I kept doing that. Now, guess what? Sometime during the year, one of my associates, before that, my wife was complaining that our house, which was like a 3 or 4 story building, was stressing her, that her back was suffering because she has to climb a lot of stairs every day, and that, and we're not getting younger, so that's going to be a big problem, and we didn't plan to buy a new house. We had already decided, okay, this house is good enough, we'll manage it for the next couple of years, and then maybe we'll sell it and buy another one later on. But she started having that complaint every day. And, for me too, it was an issue because the living area is like 2 stories up. So if we go to buy groceries, we have to carry all that load, through that. So that was also having an impact on my own back as well. So this associate came to my house to sign a contract and then mentioned that, okay, so she heard my wife complaining about the stairs in the house. And she said, oh, she has a property that we might like, that I'm sure we will like it. That is a single story building, but has an underground place where you can put an office and stuff like that. And that sounded interesting to me. That, okay, that's not bad. If everything we need is on the same floor, okay, let's go and see it. And then we walked into the house and we saw it had a fantastic pool. In fact, the moment we entered the house, everybody said, this is our house. We are buying this house. In my mind, I'm just laughing like, well, that was somebody to buy. To buy €1 million house. I mean, I don't get another work where I don't know, But remember, every day I was going to feed my mind with that image. So the moment I walked into it, I knew that this was it. The events that led to us acquiring that property is still something that I cannot tell you that, okay, this is how it happened. Because at the beginning of that year, I had a lot of debts to pay. And, I wasn't even thinking about a house, not to talk of that expensive house. Do you understand what I'm saying? But because something has shifted in my mind, when we saw it, we knew that even though we didn't have the resources immediately, we could. And then one thing started happening, events started to, things started shifting, opportunities started opening, people started suggesting things that eventually created and this is how these things work. When there's an agreement between your mind and your vision, you will begin to have events that will begin to connect to things. People will begin to say things to you that they normally would not have said. Those things will start thought processes in your mind that will begin to connect you to different flows. And this is why your daily routine is very important. How you position yourself for the things that you're desiring. You want your business to grow, but your daily routine suggests that you're not growth minded. Number one, you don't even know the industry leaders in your industry, but you want to grow into what? You can't grow into what you don't see. Are you getting what I'm saying? The template is always your vision has to align with the thoughts in your mind. There has to be continuity, right? And that's why every time I always tell people that in my line of work, I've never really made one huge outsized game. It always starts with little steps. So I'm a financial markets trader, and I used to trade crypto for several years. And when I started to trade crypto, and at that time I used to do a lot of P2P, peer-to-peer trading. I would buy some Bitcoin and sell. And I started to look for some things that I can repeat every day, right? So I created I used to call it a 10,000 naira system, because at that time my daily target was a 40,000 naira. So I believe that whatever I'm doing, I will do variants of it to get my 40,000. So for example, let's say I want to make 40,000 today. I know that is 4 Bitcoin at 10,000 naira profit, right? Very simple math. Is that also? I can also do 8 Bitcoin at 5,000 naira spread. Is that also? I can do 2 Bitcoin at 20,000. Are you seeing the variants we are talking about now? So I started doing that on a daily basis. So every time I wake up, I'm looking for 4 Bitcoin that I can sell at 10,000 naira difference. I make my 40,000. Now, I became so consistent at that it got to a point where when people want Bitcoin in bulk, they will come to me. I say, that guy is so good at sourcing Bitcoin. So I went from just seeking 4 Bitcoin every day to supplying up to 50, up to 100 every day. And I kept that consistent. So every day I'm doing 50 to 100 at 10,000 naira spread. Looks like, a lot of money, until several months later, a client approaches me and said that they need me to supply 100 to 200 Bitcoin to them every day. And I said, well, I don't have the resources to do that. And they said, I don't need to have the resources. They're going to provide it. Mine is to source and supply. I said, oh, that's interesting. I don't have a problem with that at all. Guess what? The first deal I did, I will never forget that day, because when they reached out to me and asked me if I could do it, my first instinct was to say no, because I knew too much about the USDT market, the USDT product, that I was against the company because of some shady things they were doing at the time. So I was even preaching against them. And this company approaches me and said, can I supply 250,000 USDT at the time? Now, interestingly, I've been doing Bitcoin business for years, and it did not occur to me that I could sell my Bitcoin into USDT. Like, it has never crossed my mind. So when they approached me, I went on Google and typed how to get USDT. And the first line that came out was sell Bitcoin or any other asset into USDT. And then it just clicked. So how did I not think about this all this while? And I've been doing this for years. But guess what? When I took the deal, I think at that time, Bitcoin was around 3,000-ish, 3,000, yeah, dollars at the time. And 250 will be about 80 something to something Bitcoin, right? And remember, I have built capacity to supply 100 to 200 every day without breaking a sweat. But guess what? I was doing it within a framework that created consistency. It was 10,000 spread. I don't need too much. I just need 10,000 on each Bitcoin. But guess what? On that deal, I will never forget, I made 11 million. And that day, my mind was completely blown. Like, wait a minute. So you mean all this Bitcoin I've been selling for 10,000, I can make up to 100K on one. This is interesting. And guess what? From that day, I started to make insane numbers. In fact, there was one day I made 100 million on one trade. Now, I'm not mentioning these figures to intimidate you or to make you, feel some type of way. I'm mentioning it for you to see how little becomes a lot in the process of time. Because the more you do something, the more capacity you build. Why did that company was so in love with me? Because I deliver very fast. If they come to me with a deal, I'm always like the fastest person to deliver. Why? Because I've become so good at that thing because I was doing it every day consistently. And this is why you need to understand the power of your little everyday habits, the things you do on a daily basis, the thoughts that you entertain on a daily basis. For example, when I was in Nigeria, I never watched the news. Why? And I'm always current, but I never watched the news. And the reason is simple. Tell me, how every time you watch the news, how do you feel afterwards? Do you feel excited, happy that your life is going to get better, or you feel depressed and down? How do you feel? You say?
You feel like we're in trouble.
Huh. And the trouble is always looking at you in the eyes. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't feed myself with that because I understand how my mind will produce what I consistently see. So I am deliberate about and intentional about the things I watch, the things I hear, the things I submit myself to. The truth is, whether you like it or not, every day, there are things going into you that are perpetuating themselves. Their ideas, their thoughts. That's why I always say it. Have you gone into any bank and you hear them playing Portable? Have you heard, as in you go into a bank and you're hearing Portable playing in the background? Has it ever happened before?
No.
Eh? I have nothing against Portable, but it's because money does not like noise. So if you like trenches music, there's a reason why you're stuck there in the trenches. Are you getting what I'm saying? Which means that your taste will need to change. Your taste in music, your taste in things that, for me, for example, there's certain things I don't do, not because I have anything against it, but because it does not serve my purpose. Right? I don't drink alcohol. If I drink, is maybe once in a blue moon, which is very occasional. Right? And it's not because my parents are pastors and they've always been against alcohol. I make my own choices, all right? And I make sure that it is my decision. In my house, I have a whole wine cellar with wines everywhere. I'm sure if my parents see it, they're going to cringe. But it is my life, not theirs. You get what I'm saying? And at my level, the kind of people I interact with, there's no way you won't have to take wine once in a while. You can't entertain certain class of people without presenting red wine, white wine, green wine, and all of that. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't affect my values as a Christian, but I understand how the world works. Are you getting what I'm saying? And of course, alcohol is not a sin. It's excess that is a sin. Have you noticed so? Eh? Bible scholars, the Bible say that drinking alcohol is a sin. I've not seen it anywhere in my Bible. Sha. Maybe you people can enlighten me. Maybe I've backslidden, that's why. But I have not seen it, and I'm not sure it's there at all. It is what you do in excess that becomes a problem. Even food, if you eat too much food, it's a problem. That's when it becomes a sin. That's gluttony, right? So what we are saying is that your everyday actions, the things that you do on a daily basis, there's nothing that I have desired in my life, and I have spent enough time watching it, feeling it, that it doesn't happen. No matter how far out that thing is from where I am. I'll never forget when I bought my first car. It was a Toyota 4Runner. And where did that come from? 2 years before that, 3 years before that, I was working in Port Harcourt, and I was stuck at a salary that could not even take me home. You know, my salary is not enough to take me home. So I have to trek long distances to make up at least so that I have something to keep. Now, for those who know Port Harcourt or who have been to Port Harcourt, do you know the distance between Abloma and Transamadi? Anybody familiar with that? Of course, you can use your Google map. Just type distance between Transamadi and Abloma. That's the distance I used to trek every day, morning and evening, at that season in my life. Just because I wanted to have small things to save. Now, what is funny about that season is that all the money I saved, by the end of, I saved for 5 months. By the end of the 5 months, I spent all of it to treat toothache, because I had one of the nastiest toothaches well, it wasn't the nastiest, but it was one of the craziest at the time. And that Christmas period was completely ruined for me because I couldn't eat anything. In fact, it was one of the days when I was trying to eat something I had bit on a bone, and then disaster, you know, from there. So all the money I saved for that 5 months with all that trekking and suffering disappeared on that one problem. But here's the thing. That period, that season in my life, once in a while, because the boss that I was working for is a Lebanese, and you know, he just took a liking for me, and anytime he's going and he sees that I'm still in the office, he would pick me up and drop me at, you know, Abloma Junction. Of course, I still need to trek a distance to get to my house, but at least that's some relief. So every time I enter into his car was a 2010 4Runner. I used to think to myself that one day I'm going to own this car. Now, I had no idea how much it cost. I had no idea how many years it was going to take me to get to being able to afford that car, right? But every time I enter into that car, I will picture myself on the steering, driving it. And I will feel all the feelings that it feels when you hold that steering of that kind of car. Do you understand? So when it's time for me to, you know, at least 3 years after that, I was in a better place. You know, I started making money from crypto, and, you know, I started thinking, okay, maybe it's time for me to buy my car, you know. And at the time, I didn't even remember the 4Runner, to be honest. I was only thinking at my level. So I was going to buy a Venza. In fact, it was just a transfer away from being delivered, right? And then I slept one day and woke up, and my mom, it was Christmas period too, and my mom asked me that, what car was I looking to buy? And I showed her the Venza. And she said it looks feminine. I said, well, that's what I can afford for now. And when I said that is what I can afford for now, something in me said that's not true. Now, what about your forerunner dream? And then I went online and said forerunner. And I showed her the picture. I said, hey, this one fits you very well. In my mind, I'm like, okay. It's not just whether it fits me, can I afford it? So I went and checked the price. And when I saw the price, I said to myself that, oh, it was like almost times 5 of the price of the Venza at that time. So I said to myself, this is a lot too, but this is what I want. Because if I have this, it will confirm to me that nothing in this life is impossible. And time is not a factor. The real factor is what has gone on in your mind that convinces you that I can produce this result. So I said to myself, I was going to buy it. How am I going to buy it? I didn't know. But this is how life is connected. There was a conversation that was going on in a group where I was in, and they mentioned a particular coin at that time. What's the name of this coin now? I need to remember it. It was a very fantastic crypto project. And I went and did my research on it, and something said I should buy. So I bought with 5 Bitcoin at the time, Guess what? In 10 days, that 5 Bitcoin became 35 Bitcoin. So that was how I made the money to buy that car in 10 days. Now, I could have bought my Venza and carried on with life. Do you get what I'm saying? Nothing would have spoiled. But I would not have seen that I can expand my capacity by wanting more because I am capable of more. Do you know that since then, that was the cheapest car that I have bought for myself since that time? That was the cheapest car that I've bought since that time. Now, why am I telling you this story? If you know where I'm coming from, I should not be one that is talking about buying a multi-million dollar house or a hundreds of $1,000s or hundreds of millions to buy a car. I shouldn't be the one talking about that because my background is when they use the word humble beginning, my own is more humble than that humble that they are referring to. If you get what I mean. I will never forget when I was 7, I went to school hungry because there was no food at home. We went to school hungry. We came back, and my elder sister went and ransacked the house and saw wheat flour in the cupboard. But it's been there for a long time. So there were these black dots inside. Oh my goodness. There were a lot of black dots inside. We didn't know what it was. She just made it, and we enjoyed it because Olga already has taken away all our resistance to, bad food. We just consumed it. It was when my mom came and saw the pot and saw those black dots that she said, hope we did not eat it. And we said, that was the only thing that was available to eat now. And my mom broke down and started crying. Because those black dots were actually rat shit. Do you understand? That was how. So we enjoyed rat shit because we didn't have any other option. My mom broke down in tears that day and was wailing, how low have we sunk that this is what my children are eating. I was just 7. I didn't do much. But that day I said to myself, nobody in my lineage is ever going to experience this. That's why if you see me working aggressively today, trying to create wealth, trying to educate people to become wealthy and not settle for poverty, is because I know what poverty can do. Poverty is not a flex. It's a killer of dreams. It makes you think you're less than you actually are. You will not aim for big things. Do you get what I'm saying? Look, May 19, 2021, I lost $20 million in a trade that I shouldn't have been in at all. In fact, that trade in the morning, I was up 400K. I should have just closed and gotten away. But I stubbornly refused. And I watched that money burn to 17 cents. Do you know what it means to go from 20 million to 17 cents in few hours? There's nothing that can ruin a person's life like that. But guess what? When it happened, of course, it's not like I didn't feel because there are a lot of dreams that that died with that mishap, right? But I gained perspective. Few years before that, my daughter's school fees was once 35,000. When my wife mentioned it, I broke out in sweat under a very cold AC-filled room. I was sweating like I was in the desert because I was thinking to myself, how can I afford this money? 135,000. And then in few years to go from that to somebody who can lose $20 million and not lose my mind, that is growth. Do you understand? That perspective is what kept me through. You know, that was the pinnacle of my losses, but that's not the only one. For those who are in my community who have heard my story and seen some of this, one time we did something called Village Series where we were sharing our losses. If you go there and compute the losses that I mentioned, those are not even all of them, because there are some I can't mention in public. Like this one now, I've not mentioned it in public, only to a few people. And everybody I mentioned it to, they always lost their mind. Like, so how did you survive it? I survived it because I understand that there is more from where that came from. And that's why you need to understand that your primary and default setting should be abundance. You should think abundance. That business you want to build exists, but the current version of yourself cannot undo that skill. So you need to change something about yourself. You need to grow yourself, your thought processes, the kind of people you interact with, the kind of materials if you see my book collections, I keep buying books. My digital collection has almost any book on the planet, right? And of course, I don't read them all. I'm not a reader. But what I do is I make sure that I have access to knowledge, expansive knowledge, because I know that there's no problem that doesn't have a solution. There is no place you want to go that somebody has not gone before. Oh, I lost $20 million, big deal. There are people who lost billions and they came back from it. So who am I? Are you getting what I'm saying? Because when you have this understanding, little problems will not keep you down. It will instead fire you up to do more, to be more. Because the more you become, the bigger your influence is going to grow. Do you get what I'm saying? You are not the way you are because of your background. You are not the way you are because of Nigeria. I made it in Nigeria. Yes, I'm abroad now, I'm doing great things, but it all started in Nigeria. Sometimes when I'm, arranging my office, I stumble on my, past net worth, because I used to write it on paper then, just to keep track. So I'll put dates and then I'll write, where I stand, and sometimes I will stumble on some of those things and be like, wow, how did I go from here to here? With all the losses that I've incurred, how did I still go from here to here? And that's because there is something inside me that has been programmed to know that no matter what I want in this life, I can have it if I'm willing to do the work for it. I remember some months ago, like I think it was early January, I don't know. I just started feeling like I've had a Benz before. Benz used to be my one, GLE used to be my dream car, and I bought it some years ago. And I started thinking, okay, what can I buy now? I said, okay, I wanted to drive a Tesla. I bought a Tesla after that, and then beginning of this year, I started to feel like, oh, I need to. So I started taking liking to Porsches, right? And I didn't know those things are crazy expensive. I just started, and once your mind zooms in on something, you start seeing it everywhere. I've never noticed Porsches on the road before until when I took interest in it, and then I started seeing it everywhere. So every time I go out, I will see a Porsche. I'm like, okay. So I decided, okay, let's go to the showroom. Let's go and see what we are pricing. And then I walked into the showroom and I was seeing prices of houses on top of cars. I'm like, okay, so these are houses on the road.
It's 12 hours.
And I started to think to myself that why would I spend this kind of money on the car? Right? But when you are able to go from dreaming about something to having that thing, there's something that shifts inside you. That's why almost everything I buy, even the crazy expensive ones, they're not because I want to feel among or I want to show people that I have money or I have arrived. It's mostly because there's a process inside me that it changes or it shifts. Let me give you a story about my car, how, I bought my Benz. So in 2019, my friend convinced me that Benz is the best brand in the world for cars. So I wasn't convinced, I was a BMW guy, but Isha kept singing it in my ears. So I started paying attention to, Benz vehicles, and I started looking, oh, okay, this one doesn't look bad, this one doesn't look bad, and I kept doing that for several months. And then I decided, okay, I was going to buy the GLE. When I made the money to buy the GLE, I decided that I don't think I want to buy it anymore. So I kept using the money to do something else. In 2020, December, I woke up that morning and felt like, okay, since I know buy Benz again, make I go buy something else. So I went and bought a Elox, this big Mozu Elox. So I went and bought it. And, I just woke up in the morning and decided, okay, I'll go and buy this. And I bought it. Then I went on the worst losing streak of my life. 2021 was a terrible year for me in terms of losses. February, I lost $1.8 million. March, the same thing. May was the pinnacle of, of that run. So I started to ask myself, what is going on? I've never gone on this kind of terrible loss before. So what is going on? And then something whispered to me that you paused a dream that should have moved you forward. I said, what dream is that? There's nothing I'm looking for that I don't have. I have cars, I have houses, so what is that? And the image of that GLE came into my mind. And so I called my friend and said, okay, bro, we're going to buy the GLE today. And the guy said, what? Where did that come from? From where to where? I said, if I don't buy it today, these losses will not stop. I said, but what are you talking about? And I said, every time I pause my dream, I always go on a bad run. So, cut the short story long, we went and bought the car that morning. It was a Wednesday morning. We went and bought the car. By Friday, I had made back all the money I spent on that car. You're shocked, Abi? Me too, I am shocked. But what I'm showing you here is that when you build yourself into a person, you can stay focused on what you are going for without the noise in the environment affecting you. Every day I will wake up and watch that video. Every day I will wake up and watch that video, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what my pocket is saying. I will go and do that. Why? Because I know if it happens in my mind, it will happen in reality. And this is the secret that all these huge names use. That's why it's not common to the common man. Because the common man does not even have the patience to go through the process. They are looking for one magical breakthrough sometime in the future. I'm sorry to break it to you, nothing like that is coming. You're not going to win a lottery. You're not going to win a contract. Even if you win the contract, you will misappropriate the funds. Because if you have not built capacity to handle something and it gets handed to you, you will waste it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every day you need to build a routine that confines you into the dimensions that you want to operate in. There are certain conversations I don't have. There are certain things I don't entertain. There's certain music I don't listen to. Not because maybe I'm a boring guy. Maybe that's why I just like jazz music and instrumentals. I don't like noise. Once anything is making noise in my environment, even my phone does not ring. That's how I hate noise. You understand? But I'm always conscious of the kind of images that goes into my eyes, the kind of words and the kind of sounds that goes into my mind, into my ears, right? Because those are the ways you build capacity. If your thought process is upside down, your results will show that too. Are you getting what I'm saying? That's why I've always been about communities. When you have communities of like minds, you don't know how powerful that is for you. I know Africa, our culture tends to be suspicious of everything and everybody. You will see when you start making small money, your parents will tell you, be careful of this friend, sure for real. This is But the truth of the matter is there are certain levels you cannot get to unless your friends connect you. There are certain places you see. There are things called privileged information. Are you getting what I'm saying? Before something becomes public, there are some people that have already put their money into it. Some weeks ago, Dangote Refinery, I think it was the video that mistakenly posted the prospectus of the Dangote Refinery shares this thing that is not yet public, but some insiders have already bought it. What do you think will happen when it becomes public? They will dump it on your head. Are you getting the point now? That's why you can't play with circles. There's some circles that when you are in, you will get information first time. You will get into flows before it becomes, because it's just like that guy that was by the pool of Bethesda, right? And every time the angel comes and stirs the pool, the first person that gets in gets ill. The rest, they get wet. Abino Biso. Which means all the rest just went on swimming excursion. Are you getting what I'm saying? And that is why when Jesus showed up on the scene, the guy said, I have nobody. That's the first thing he said. I have nobody. And you don't want to be in that position where you have nobody. That's why all my life I've built communities. I can do things by myself. I'm an highly capable person. But I understand that there's a wisdom of the crowd. There's power in numbers. Even God respects numbers. That's why the Bible says when 2 or 3 are gathered, God is where? There with them. So, which means you need to be able to identify people who have the same desires as you. They want to better their life. They want to be big. I always tell people that when you think about yourself, think globally. Before I made millions of dollars, I used to tell myself that I was a poor man in Naira because, at that time, of course, I was controlling some reasonable amount of money. But I always say to myself that until I am globally rich, I am still poor. So my target was to become globally, do you understand? So that anywhere I go in the world, I can hold my own. You get what I'm saying? So when I made my first 100 million naira, I wasn't thinking, oh, I have arrived. I was thinking there's still more grounds to cover. Do you get what I'm saying? Today, now, to make $1 million, you need 1 point something billion. Are you getting what I'm saying now? Yeah? But that will keep you hungry. It will keep you doing the work. It will keep you showing up. It will keep you growing. Because if you live a life of continuous improvement, many of us always think sometime in the future we'll just stumble on a life-changing opportunity. No. What puts you in that flow is your daily routine, what you're doing every day, who you are every day. What are you consuming? What is going into your eyes? What is going into your ears? What is happening in your mind every single day? It is in the little steps. I always say something, you cannot miss a lucky day if you never miss a day. Do you get what I'm saying? If you show up every day, one day will be your lucky day. And this is the idea of consistency. This is how little effort adds up to. Go and check every huge project that has ever been accomplished. It started with little baby steps, from the ideas to the brainstorming around the ideas, to the moving to making the idea become reality. All those things did not suddenly, you won't suddenly see a huge building appear, right? It's always small things coming together, right? It's somebody that will mix the cement. It's someone that will carry the stone. It's somebody that will carry, do you get what I'm saying? All those moving parts are the little things that you do on a daily basis that eventually adds up to a lot. Ask yourself, what am I doing every day with my time? You have 24 hours every day. Same with Bill Gates. What are you doing with the time? I won't say you should not sleep. Oh, please sleep as much as you need. Sleep is essential for your proper functioning, right? But there's a season of your life that you cannot be friends with sleep, if you get what I mean. Yeah? In those days, I used to say that sleep is for the rich. You understand? Even the rich does not sleep. Dangote does not sleep 8 hours a day. I hope you know that. Huh? But I'm not saying you shouldn't sleep, but I'm saying that you should understand how to allocate time to productive use, right? If you say every day I'm going to read 1 hour about my industry, I'm going to read 1 hour about something I'm passionate about, do that for 10 years. I swear to God, you will be among the top operators in that industry. Just by that one decision. And this is the power that you have. Many people say, oh, things are so bad for me. I come from a humble background. There's nothing and nobody that cannot change their life. I can tell you this for free. I always say this, success is an exact science. If you know what rich people do to make them rich, you will replicate it. Do you get what I'm saying? The things I've been teaching for years, they're things that I learned with my own life. It wasn't that they told me. I saw it happen because I understood things and I stayed on that path. I don't joke with knowledge. I don't joke with, opportunities for growth. I don't play with it because I know that the power to build the life that I want is in my hands. Do you get what I'm saying? You are the one who is responsible for the life you have created till now. Whether you admit it or not, you are responsible. Whether you like that life or not, it is your fault. And that's where you start from. You take responsibility and say, I'm going to turn this around. I've seen people come from places that you would not have imagined that they can make meaning out of their life. And it's because of the power of the human mind. God put so much power into us, so much, we have so much capacity for growth. My dad always says the biggest room in the world is the room for self-improvement, right? But how can you improve yourself if you are not even aware of where you are and what you have done wrong so far? Some of us is our thought process. We have allowed people to program certain things into our minds. When people tell you money doesn't grow on trees, what do you think it does in your mind? It limits you, right? If somebody tells you, oh, I can't afford that, what does it do? It limits your thought process. If you change that, I can't afford it, to how can I afford it? Do you see what will happen then? Your brain starts looking for ways to make that happen. And that's why things like, this kind of program is very important in helping, especially people who are, if you're in a developed country, you will see enough in your everyday environment to make you realize that there is more. Do you understand? I always say something. I say that the reason why Africa gets poorer and poorer is because that's what we see predominantly. And what you see, you will produce more of. Do you get what I'm saying? That's why if you want a different life, you need to change what you're looking at. Thank God for the internet. Some of you will spend time on Facebook watching all sorts of skits when you can be feeding your mind with the life that you want to live. Everything that I've experienced in my life, everything that I've owned in my life has come from programming that into my subconscious. So such that it becomes something that even if I change my mind and say, oh, I don't want it again, it will still come because I've said something emotional. Are you getting what I'm saying? Long time ago, I decided I was never going to be poor. It was not about whether I was going to be rich or poor. It was how rich I was going to get. And that's why no matter how low I fall, I always make a comeback. Many times, rousing comeback that even me, I'm shocked. What's going on? Of course, the grace of God is there, but God has given you capacity to be co-creators with Him. Abi, is that not so? Was that not what God told us in Genesis? He said, be fruitful and multiply, right? Subdue the earth, replenish it. He cannot be giving you that command if He has not given you the capacity to do it. Is that clear enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, in summary, what we are saying is that it is not something in the future, one big event in the future that will change your life. It is the everyday actions, everyday thought processes, everyday decisions that you're making, everything you're doing on a daily basis, the little things, the seemingly inconsequential things that you're doing, right? For example, attending a conference like this. I remember in 2012, I went for a conference like this. It was organized by some guys who are now big life coaches in Nigeria now. And then they called it the business of your talent. I didn't even have money to attend that conference. I had to take a loan. It was a day after my birthday, so I had to ask them for a discount on top of the loan that I collected to attend. Do you understand? And some of the things I heard in that conference spurred me to search more into how to grow my talent, how to grow my, whatever I'm doing, how to be the best at it, how to be better and better at whatever I'm doing. How many years after it has paid dividends? You might think, oh, all the stories this guy is saying, he doesn't understand. Nigeria had passed that one. Don't worry, I experienced Nigeria firsthand from Sakpa to Extreme Sakpa Pro Max. You understand? But I came out of that because I programmed myself into abundance. Today, you can't talk me and tell me that anything is impossible. I will not believe you. Because I turned 27,000 naira into billions of naira. So how do you want to tell me that anything is impossible? Do you get what I'm saying? You cannot tell me that because what I've handled, what I've seen, and it's not only me, I've seen it in other people's lives too. Mr. David here is one of the people who, at least I'm sure he has watched what I've been doing for years, and he knows firsthand that we're not just capping. We are transforming people's lives, even people that you would have thought did not have a chance. So what I'm saying to you, from what I can see, we are young people, you have advantage. As a young person, the biggest asset you have is time. There are certain decisions I cannot make now. There are some experiments I cannot do now because of my age and my responsibilities. But you as a young person, you have a big and huge runway. But will you use it, or you will continue to wait for that time in the future that is not coming? The decision is yours at the end of the day. Ooh, I think I wasn't even looking at them. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Wow, that's been a wonderful one. Please, let's appreciate Prof for that. But if you listen carefully, you see that he has. If you listen carefully, you see that he has touched some very sensitive part of things. You see, I've engaged some people and they tell me they just want the money to do the work.
Mhm.
And what I say in response is, if by now, with what you know, you cannot make enough to start doing what you want to do, what is giving you assurance that if the money suddenly drops, you have what it takes to manage it and multiply it? Because the problem is not always with the resources, it's not always with the material, it's not even always with the position you want to get to. A lot of times, it's always a problem from the mind. And that's why it's difficult for me to blame Nigerian governments. Many times we are blaming them. And it's not because they are doing an excellent job, but because they came from us. And if you look at the way some of us behave, those of us that we are blaming the government, you know that if we get to that position, we are likely to do even worse. And that's why it's that's why it's very important to me when I see or when we can gather people and have conversation and just look at how we think, how we reason things out. And if you are listening to everything he said, you would have seen that to a large extent, he didn't get anywhere suddenly or by mistake. And like they say, success is predictable, and so is failure. And they don't just become predictable because somebody declared it, but they become predictable because of your daily activity, your everyday routine. And those are the things he has emphasized today. And before we let him go, if you have any question regarding anything at all, now is a good time to ask those questions because these topics are very sensitive topics. And the reason they are very sensitive is because, in fact, look at all the while he was speaking. Did you hear anything like the 7 steps that you are supposed to take to become rich or the 15 steps for you to? It's because many times, you said?
Something like multiplication is sports.
Exactly. Because those things are not, they are not get rich quick scheme, or how do they put that thing? They are not things that somebody can just give you. They are not drugs. Take 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the night, and you're okay. No. They are many times they are subtle. Take for instance, the times he had to feel the steering of that car when he's holding it, just for him to come to that place of agreement. And I will say this, I'm not sure I've said it, I'm not sure I've said it even in ATL before. There was a particular trade. It was with us on that paid for the trade. And it so happened that we were supposed to, he sent the money to my account. Normally, he pays the person, but he sent the money to my account. I was supposed to pay the person. And somehow, some way, the person was not responding. And I didn't want to pay until I'm very sure the person was ready to release trade immediately. So I saw it, and it was the first time I had over 1 million naira in my account. I refused to close the app. I refused to close my bank app. I was just looking at it. 1 million naira. 1 million naira. I was serving there. So there was a place which used to be our room. Then we have a place outside where we talk, we do morning devotion and stuff like that. So I was going and coming, looking at the phone, 1 million naira. I'll go back into the room, sit alone. 1 million naira. Is this what 7 figures look like when you have it in your account? And that journey, before I had my own 1 million naira, it's about 6 months from the time I started trading to that experience. And immediately I broke that 1 million. The 2nd million came in less than 1 month. So if you have listened carefully, some of those things are not going to be things. In fact, your pastor will not teach it. You won't find it in school. Because for every sermon, for every lecture, it has been pre-planned. And because it has been pre-planned, they have something they want to tell you. And they have it that they want you to achieve it. They want you to hear them in a certain way. But in this case, it is your life. Not what somebody wants you to hear in a certain way, but what you have to become. So within the space of 1 month, I doubled my own million. And if I look at it since then, despite different losses, different misbehaviors, and things I've done with money, it always comes back to the fact, and Prof can also help me correct this if I'm right or wrong, that when it comes to resources, when it comes to you getting to where you want to get to, many times it is not always about the work that you do. When I say work, maybe you are working in a bank, and because of that, you think that's the only way for you to get rich.
Mhm.
Maybe because you're into construction, you are looking at the number of projects you have to get before you become rich. No, it always first starts with the mind. I was telling somebody some time ago that we're not getting the kind of work we're looking for at Glasshouse Waters. That's where I do water work. And he said, who are the top people in the industry? And I told him, I said, I've checked these things severally. I've not really seen anybody, but I've seen different people doing different things in this industry. And they have always done big projects. But I checked them online, they are not there. I tried to read their story, you cannot find it. And he said, maybe I was looking at the thing the wrong way. And he said to me, maybe the plan is not for me to be the top person in the industry. Maybe it is time for me to do business as a business person and not as a learned person.
Hmm.
And that took a whole different shift for me. Because every time I'm planning a project for Glasshouse Water, we have this that we want to do, the next 10 people we want to beat, we want to be known here, we want to be known there. But then I look at it, the evil men that do their business, do they really know the top people in their industry because of the way their kind of business is? They just do it every day, right? They just do business every day. This is the customer, this is what we have to do. And I'm like, I'm not even there where I have customers every day. So why am I fighting to be the top in the industry? But every day, the picture is clear in my mind that a time comes where you want to do any serious project in real estate, and then you are looking to consult with glasshouse waters. But with where I am, if I must do anything sensible, if I must continue to get clients, then there is need for me to do business as a business person, not just as a learned person who is looking at being the only person doing water works in Nigeria. And so, if you look at everything we have talked about, it's always a question of the mind. How are you seeing things? Perspectives. How are you hearing things? How are you processing things? Thinking pattern, thinking processes, right? Because these things transcend even your industry. They transcend your profession. The same way you have people complaining in the banking industry, people are complaining on the streets, people are complaining in almost any industry. But what makes the difference between those that are complaining and those that are actually making things happen? Mindset. And so, before we go into the other sessions we have for you today, and before we allow Prof to go finally, do you have any question regarding anything you've heard, anything you have been thinking about, or anywhere you really want to get to, but probably you need clarity, whatever it is, any question at all? Something on your mind? Okay, please. You have to come close so you can get your voice.
Okay. I'm asking these questions. My question is it compulsory to do a lot of works before you can get?
I cannot hear you clearly. I'm struggling to hear you. Could you speak a bit louder?
I think broke.
Yeah, stay close to the speaker. That's where it picks your voice from.
My question is it compulsory for you to do like 3-4 occupations together for you to get financial income? Example, I'm a type of person that I don't like experiencing inflation, experiencing the lack of money,
Okay.
I feel like, okay, this when I do this, I do this to it.
Yeah.
I do this, I also do this too. At least, even maybe in a week, I can get a certain amount from this certain job.
Yeah.
And this one too, maybe in a week, I can get. And the current situation of the country right now, for you to, you are not being able to do like 2-3 things together. Even the one you do, you are not being capable enough. Even if you are capable, people will still backslide you and go for another person else. So how can we make that money consistently apart from you being doing so much occupations together? I know, and those works, I also put in consistency.
Yeah.
Not because maybe okay, I'm not consistent in one. I only focus on one. No, I'm consistent in all. But how can you okay? I'm choosing this as one. How can that bring in financial info? I know there are sometimes whereby things we have to do arise again. But that's just my question. Let me put it down. I don't know, maybe you get me.
Okay. I will try and rephrase if Prof didn't get that. Did you get that, Prof?
I think I got it to some extent. I got a part of it.
Okay, so I think the major
Okay, but
part
I
of the
can
question.
It was asking, let me be sure that I got it right. It was asking that is it okay to do multiple things to keep body and soul together while trying to build towards where you want to go, right? Is that correct? Did I summarize that right?
No, it's
Okay.
asking if it's necessary or compulsory for someone to do multiple jobs
Okay.
before attaining a kind of financial stability. That on his own, he really doesn't like it when money seems to go down.
Okay.
And then considering the fact that either you are doing one job or two, there is need for you to be consistent. And then even the one you seem to be consistent in, there seem to be people who can even hijack that from you.
Hmm.
Is it necessary? Is it a compulsory thing that one has to do multiple jobs before you can attain financial stability or independence?
Okay, I'll put it this way. I think I mentioned at the beginning that some point in my life I was doing almost everything. I do carpenter, I do painter, I sell fufu self, I did car wash. Oh my God. There was literally nothing I wasn't doing. I was teaching, I was writing code, I was doing literally everything that any human being can do. Yeah, I did make money, but none of it stayed. Because you have to understand that there are different seasons in your life, right? There's the season where you are building. When you're building, nothing looks pretty, right? Is that not so? Even when you go on site, you have to wear helmet, you have to wear the appropriate gear. Is that not so? Because in that season, nothing is pretty, everything is messy. There's cement everywhere, there's this, there's that, all over the place. So when you're in your building season, your job is to first and foremost stay alive, which means you survive long enough to make it. Do you get what I'm saying? So whatever you need to do legally to survive, you need to do it. But while you're doing that, you need to be building capacity for something that you'll be so good at that nobody in that industry can ignore you. Because that's where your real break will come from. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, I did a lot of things. In fact, I used to work in oil and gas when I started, trading crypto. But when I got into crypto, I started to pour myself into it, study as much as I can. And I became so good at it that nobody in that industry could ignore me. In fact, at some point, I saw one ranking that I was one of the top crypto people in Nigeria. All those things I didn't even follow it because nobody would concern me with that. I was more interested in doing the work, and spreading the gospel of crypto at the time. So what I'm saying is there are going to be seasons of your life where you need to do a lot of things to stay afloat, right? But that season should not take your eyes off your ultimate goal. It's just like, for example, people who travel out and they start doing menial jobs and they stay at it for a long time. That's because they did not spend because when you're doing multiple jobs, you literally have no time for personal growth, right? Because before you finish this one and go and do that one, you're already exhausted. But it is in that flow that you need to find a way to build capacity. I used to say something that in my life, I aim for one thing. No matter the job I do, I want to be so good at what I do that even the person who employed me at that job will feel like I'm being underused. Do you understand what I mean? Like if I'm a driver, my oga will look, say, this guy, you're not supposed to be a driver. You're supposed to be more. You get what I'm saying? And this has followed me all my life. When I used to work in oil and gas, I was there as their IT person, right? But every time there's a strategy meeting in that business, they will invite me into the room. They say they want to use my brain. That's my brain, is like, I have strategy. And I never disappointed them. I was the only guy in that room who is not who is not a manager. But they're always calling me into that room. Now, do you know that in some years after that, I became somebody who was lending money to the business from just sitting in strategy meetings to becoming somebody who can finance some of their projects. Do you get what I'm saying? Which means that at different seasons of your life, you need to understand what you need to do. Like that time I was doing everything, selling fufu, doing car wash and all of that. It's because at that season of my life, in fact, I even had a, what do they call it? A viewing center at that time. This guy never deserved. Do you understand? There was literally nothing I wasn't doing. You understand? I used to install VSAT, DSTV, all those things. Why? Because at that time, I knew that I needed all the skills I can get. I could program in almost any language. At the end of the day, that was not what made me money, but it set me on a path. Do you get what I'm saying? It set me on a path. In fact, when I discovered crypto, because of the path I was on, I could sense the opportunity there. I remember the first week after I finished trading, I was making like 40K, 100K every day. At my job, how much did they pay me? I went and met my boss that same week. I said, man, I found a gold mine. Oh. If we get early into this thing, this might be the breakthrough for this company. Oh. Unfortunately, our brother, who is an accountant, who spoke out of it. But later, when the evidence started to show, because when you do something well enough, the evidence will be too clear that nobody can ignore it. Do you get what I'm saying? When I still working in that oil and gas company, I had a boss who said to himself that he will make sure I never get promoted in that company. So every chance he gets to victimize my life, he gets it. So that time, you always find a way to get them to suspend me. Unfortunately for him, every time they suspend me, I will make my yearly salary. So he started seeing that it's like his attacks are working in my favor instead. Do you understand? Because I was very good at what I was doing. You get what I'm saying? My job was I was just doing the job as a show of gratitude because that company helped me to, get into that flow, right? So I was just showing gratitude by, okay, I will not trade the whole day. In fact, when I left the company, I was still working for them. I would still go there and do stuff, and they will pay me for my fuel. It was just me giving back to them. Do you understand? But what I'm saying is, when you are still in that season where you're having to do multiple things to stay afloat, don't lose sight of what you need to do, that you will build the capacity to be the best at that thing. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, my natural skill, or one of the things that I feel I'm naturally gifted at, is teaching. So I love to teach a lot. I love to teach complex stuff. So any complex thing, leave it to me. I will break it down. That's one thing that I know I excel at, and it's been that way for years. I've been teaching for more than 25 years. So I am in love with teaching. This week I've been having sessions from beginning of the week till now. I still have another one, later today and tomorrow. I just love doing it. I don't even need to get paid for it. I just love to do it. Right? But that's not what puts food on my table. Do you understand what I'm saying? What puts food on my table is my ability to trade the financial markets, to read it, to do what I need to do, and that's it. You understand? Which means there's skills that will feed you and there's skills that will fulfill you. They're not often the same thing. If they're the same thing, fantastic. That's a blessing. Do you understand? Yeah. If every time I come and teach, they squeeze like $5,000 inside my pocket, I will not say no. I will not be angry. I'm sure you'll be angry if they do that kind of thing. I will not take offense. Do you get? But I can trade, and in a few minutes, I can make 100K, that kind of thing. So for me, I understand what feeds me and what fulfills me. I can teach for hours without being paid, and I will feel fulfilled. I will feel much better than if I made $100K. Do you understand? So it's about understanding the seasons of your life. There are going to be seasons where you have to go at many things. If you have talent to do many things, by all means, explore as much as you can. But don't lose sight of the ones that will eventually give you your big break. And the ones that will give you your big break are the ones that you have done long enough that you have owned the skills to be exceptional at it. Do you get what I'm saying? Which means the little everyday things that you're doing that are adding up to that, I always like to call it a quantum leap, right? You're on the same level, doing the same things every day, doing the same things. It doesn't look like anything is happening. Let's use a gym, for example. If you register into a gym, let's say you start with an amusement park, the stomach is very well rounded, and you keep going. The first week, you will not see anything. Second week, nothing. Fourth week, sixth week, nothing. If you stop at that point and say, oh, this thing is not working, you're going to miss out. Do you understand? But by the time you keep going, by the 6th month, not only have you started sculpting a new body, but something would have also shifted in you because you have created consistency. Consistency is the real power for explosive growth. When you consistently do something well, if you're reading, like I said, about a particular industry, you're studying stuff about that industry, do it for straight 5 years. I can assure you, in 5 years, there will be not many people that can compete with you in that industry. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's even fantastic that we live in a world now where knowledge is democratized. You can learn about it. If you want to build an atomic bomb today, you can go online and get the full recipe and build it. That's how the world has evolved. So in time past, they could have excuses for not making it, but not us. We have everything we need. There's literally nothing you want to learn, you want to become great at, that you will have excess access to information. What are you doing with it? And your time is the only currency you can exchange for that. Because when you spend time studying stuff, reading, understanding it, practicing, then you begin to create a distance between yourself and people who are not doing that. Do you get what I'm saying? So the seasons of your life will dictate to you when to do many things. For me, for a long time, I did only crypto. My dad talked about diversification for a long time. I told him, Baba, calm down. This is what I know how to do, and I want to maximize it. You understand? All the money I made and lost all came from crypto. I started crypto trading with 27,000 naira, right? And imagine just the losses I mentioned during the session. If you convert it to naira, you can almost lose your mind. And all came from the same. Do you get what I'm saying? But it was from small, little, everyday steps. Little capacity started to grow, and then explosion happens. And that's how it is. It's the way of growth. Growth is not often, but anything you jump into, let's say you just say, if I give you 100 million now, if you don't have the capacity to manage it, you will burn it. Some of you say, oh no, I have plans, I have investment plans. I lie. You will go and throw it into things that would, because it must bring you back to the level that you are at. Do you understand? You must come back to the level that you deserve to be. And that's why you need to be very, very intentional about how you appropriate your energy, how you appropriate your time, how you allocate your, the things that you do, the things that you invest yourself into. Very important to, put your best foot forward, if you get what I mean.
It's all right. Thank you so much, sir.
So,
Hey, do we have any other question? You have one. Okay, please come on.
Sorry, bro. Did it ever occur to you that what you do to
make it in life was crypto. Like during the years you were struggling and doing different jobs, like did you ever have it in mind that crypto was what you will later do to make such amount of money? Like crypto is a digital skill. Like I'm learning a land-based skill, but during all the years that you were building, did you ever have it in mind that this is the particular thing you will do, or you just had sources in your mind, like you said it started from your mind. Did you have the sources in your mind? Then the idea of crypto or the financial expansion that you now came into vision after you had the sources in your mind.
Okay, that's a very fantastic question. Thanks for bringing that up. You know, there's something the Bible says about our lives. It says it does not yet appear what we will be like, but we know one thing, that we will be like him. Abi, is that also?
Yes, sir.
And if you understand the depth of that particular verse of the Bible, you will see that there is nobody that knows what they are going to get into that will give them the big break they're looking for. For example, I didn't know anything about crypto until when I joined MMM in 2016. Very funny, because my friend who was disturbing me about MMM, I kept telling him, please, guy, I don't have money to put in all these things. You know, I kept pushing him back. And while I was doing that, you know, I became curious. And that's why it's very important to have a curious mind, because if you are the type that shut down everything without investigating, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities, right? So for me, I kept having, the guy kept prompting me. So I went, that's what I always do. When I'm not knowledgeable about something, I will go to Google and ask, what is, you know, so I went online, I searched, what is MMM? Brought out story of Mr. Mavrodi. And Mavrodi is a mathematician, and I am a mathematician. So maybe that resonance, you know, made me more curious. So I looked at the MMM model and I said, oh, this is interesting. This looks like the model they use in insurance, right? The only problem is if everybody wants to collect their money at once, then voila, we start. But as long as that doesn't happen, this system can do well, right? And on that day, I will never forget, it was in June 2016. I told this my friend that I believe that this system will crash in December. And he said, what did I see? And I said, because December is the only month that everybody wants money. Do you understand? So, and he said, but how did I know? And I said, just looking at the model, I'm a mathematician, and the mathematical model shows that there will be trouble in December. And this guy was like, okay, but at least still join first. You know, so I decided, okay, I had nothing to lose. I would just put 25,000 naira. So I put in 25,000, but because my brain works differently from everybody, I'm always the guy who is looking for what everybody is not looking for. So when I got there and I saw Naira and Bitcoin, I was curious that why are they giving Bitcoin 50%? What is it about this Bitcoin that is making them give it 50%? So I decided to go with that. So I decided to PH in Bitcoin. While I did that, of course, I didn't know what Bitcoin was at the time. I went online to search what is Bitcoin. When I typed what is Bitcoin and I read about it, looked at the white paper, it's just about 9 or 11 pages. I read it and I was like, wow, this could be the future. Now, why did I recognize that? Because of my background, because of what I've been doing. Do you get what I'm saying? My background in software programming, all those things made me to realize or recognize an opportunity. Do you get what I'm saying? But that's not where it stopped. When they matched me to pay the person, you know, very funny. I didn't know where to get Bitcoin from. So I went online and typed how to buy Bitcoin in Nigeria. So they brought several websites, local Bitcoin, BitX, and all of that. I tried local Bitcoin. I didn't understand what was going on, so I just left it. I went and, opened BitX. And when I opened BitX and I saw the interface, I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. So I wanted to buy 25,000 naira worth of Bitcoin. I ended up spending 27,000 because of fees and stuff like that. Because I didn't know, and I just instant bought. So after I'd gone through all that, because I just came back from work, so I felt stressed. I said, okay, I will sleep and wake up in the morning and transfer the Bitcoin in the morning. Only for me to wake up in the morning and see that I now had 30-something thousand instead of 20-something that I spent. So my brain went into overdrive, like, wait a minute. If this thing overnight can do 10%, me, I'm a mathematician, I think in numbers. So instantly, my brain started doing a lot of computations. Now, wait, what's going on here? And that's how I became hooked on Bitcoin since then. So it's not like of course, I knew that I wanted to do a lot of things in investing and finance, but I did not know that that was going to be my inroad into that. So there's no way for you to predict with certainty what is going to be your big break. Except, of course, you have been doing that thing long enough that you have become exceptional at it. Let me give you an example. Tiger Woods was 4 when his father noticed that he always liked to use stick to eat something. And his father started to groom him in that direction. By the time Tiger Woods was 18, he was the world champion. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why you see, when the Bible says train up a child in the way he should go, it's because the Bible knows that if you do something long enough, you become exceptional at it. You get what I'm saying? In Africa, we are not fortunate to have that kind of guidance early. Because if many of us have gotten into many of the things that we love to do or we are naturally gifted at, we'll be exceptional at that. But of course, it's never late. It says when you wake up, that is your morning. I mean, not so. Me, I love numbers. I love teaching. I love helping people. Everything I do revolves around those things. So for me, I know that I'm very quick to understand complex stuff. It's even since when I've been in the university. When I was in university, I was doing PhD projects. When I was in 100 level, 200 level, I was doing PhD project in mathematics and computer. In fact, there was one person's project, PhD, that I corrected the the equation that the professor gave him, and the person asked him that, who is this person? How did he know this? That this is the correct one, the other one was wrong. But how did he know? Since then, that guy used to call me coach. Like, maybe I just have an exceptional mind, right? But all of that did not make me money. You understand? I write code tire. I develop software tire. None of it paid me. Do you get what I'm saying? It's until I entered into Bitcoin. But what helped me to recognize that opportunity was because of my background in all those things. So it was easier for me to see that, oh, there's a path here. And I went down that path. In fact, for me, once I find something, I go all in. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it works, it must pay me well. You get what I'm saying? So you will not know up front. That's why you are doing the everyday things that you're doing. Building capacity, building capacity, building capacity. I went from, in fact, I'll never forget when I started trading, I went to all my banks. I started asking them to increase my limits. And every time I go, they were always laughing at me that, what do you want to use 5 billion naira limit to do? You that you have never seen 100K in your account. What are you up to? But I kept doing it because I could see beyond what I was seeing in the moment. I went from that to having, at some point, I had a total of 30 billion naira daily limit because all my banks were happy to give me a limited limit to move money around, which was what I needed at that time. Do you get what I'm saying? So you need to understand that when you're on the journey, you will not see the destination, but you have to trust the process. Do you understand? You have to trust the process. Keep building capacity. That's why you build capacity in the direction of your talent, of your passion, because that's what will keep you motivated to keep going, even when things are not looking like they are going to work. When I entered into crypto, I did not enter into crypto thinking I was going to make a lot of money. That's why I did not initially leave my job. Do you understand now? I hold on to my job just in case. At least if you no work, I still get this one at hand. Do you understand? But when, when I was doing it, the first 2 years, I saw that, oh, this thing is more than just something that pays the bills. It can do much more. There was one, I think I started trading in 2016. January 2017, I had made my annual salary in the first week of January. So it was at that point I knew that, okay, it's like this thing is what I'm going to concentrate on, And I think since January 2018, I've been jobless, but I've never run out of work. I've always had work to do since then, but I've never had a job since then. Jobless Nigerian youth. You get the point now. Yeah, so
All
that's
right.
that.
Thank you so much, sir. Is your question answered? I have a question. Okay, please go on.
Okay, good afternoon, bro. So my question is to in relation to what they said, right? And it is, I just want a clear balance here. Okay, the question first is, there is this saying that not every job path is meant for you. First, the person is true is that. Now, the second one, I have to write it down so I will not forget. Let me just read it. It is in relation to what I just said now. So if that is true, now how do we distinguish between persistence and wasting time on a path that is not meant for you? Now, bringing this story from what the first person that asked the question and the second person said. Now, relating it to crypto too, because I'm quite big on crypto. And I feel that we have a couple of people here that do, when they get into crypto, because of certain losses that they make, right? They just hands up and say, no, this is not meant for me. Practically, it might not be because of the truthfulness, and it is not meant for them. It might be because of loss aversion or something like that. So that's what I'm going to ask that. First, is the phrase right by saying not all job paths meant for you? And how do we distinguish between persistence, like do they have to go harder, or just identify that this part is not for this?
Okay, that's a fantastic question. I like that, but I'll put it this way: when you hear popular beliefs or popular sayings, the chances that it is false is very high. Do you get what I'm saying? What you need to understand is this. I know for a long time, persistency can look like waste of time. Do you get what I'm saying? I did some things for years, 10 years straight, and nothing seemed to be happening. Do you understand? I was still broke, even though in my mind I was a billionaire. Do you understand? But I didn't stop. I kept showing up. I kept showing up. Why? Because I understood that the destination is not as important as the journey. While you're on the journey, you are changing. It is the you that you are becoming that determines what makes the difference in the end. Do you get what I'm saying? It is not about whether I'm doing this job that I love, or I worked for I worked at an IT company as an IT consultant. I worked there for I think about a year plus. And for the first 6 months, it was horrible because the boss was always picking on me. In fact, this guy is crazy. He will come to client site. He's the one that sent me to the client too. He will still come in front of the client and be washing me down, washing down my work. But me, I know that I was good at what I was doing. So, because that's his own modus, he uses that to, kill your confidence so that he can control you and decide what he wants to do with you. This guy, get weekend. Monday to Sunday, you are working. I was the first person in the company that stopped it. He called me on a Saturday morning at my friend's wedding and told me I'm supposed to be at client side, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm not aware. The contract says Monday to Friday. And Saturday and Sunday are unpaid. So why do you want me to commit to that? I also have my own life to build. And this guy, was upset. But I remained calm. As he was angry and paranoid, I was just apologizing. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. But I stood on my right. After a while, he will be telling my colleagues to call me that we're supposed to be in one place. I'll tell him to call me himself. So after a while, I can't become like terrorists for my company. But what was giving me the confidence to do that is because I was good at my job. I didn't need to kiss ass to maintain my status. Do you understand? I kept doing my work and I was doing fantastic work. I knew it. He knew it. But of course, because he needed to gain control, which it didn't work. So what we are saying is that when you have decided, okay, this is the path I want to go, and you've been on that path for quite a while, but nothing is moving, nothing is changing, it's not looking like you are making it. Let me use that word so that at least you get what I'm saying. But if you are paying attention to who you're becoming in that process, you will know if you are getting close to something tangible or if you're just wasting your time. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's why we tell you to work on your mind, because you can't see beyond what you don't see or what you don't understand. For me, since I was 8 years old, I said I must be wealthy. I must have means. Do you understand? The first day I went to Lagos Island and I saw all the paved roads and the big buildings, I said to myself, one day I'm going to have properties here. The guy that we went there together was just laughing at me. He made a statement. He said, now your type that they find here. 10 years after, I own properties on that same land, in that same place. Do you understand? When this guy called me, I said, where do I live? And I told him, and I was like, you talk on that time more. I said, now God, do. Do you understand what I'm saying? But for a long time, it didn't look like anything was happening until something happened. But it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Who are you becoming in the process? Are you thinking better? Are you seeing better? Are you solving problems better? Generally, I see myself as a problem solver. There is no role that I cannot play. I've done marriage counseling. I've done, leadership training. I've done different things. Do you understand? Is it because I am all-knowing? No, it's because I'm always learning from everything. I read, I study, there's literally nothing that I don't try and, it's like what they call the length and breadth of knowledge, right? Where you want to know something about everything and everything about something. So if you want to know about crypto now, I'm your guy. I know almost everything about crypto. Do you understand? But if you come to me and talk about medicine, about investing, I know things about that too. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you know how many years it takes to get that kind of exposure? And like I said, it's not everything you invest in that will bring you money. But when you have built yourself into a person who is deserving of that resources that you want to control, it will come to you naturally. I will never forget this day back in school when one of my guys came to me and said, I can see the work you're doing. I can see how talented you are. I can see, but you're not making money. Because that time I started to make some money, and you know, he came to ask me that, okay, I don't know up to you, but I'm making money. What about you? When are you going to start making money? And I said something I never forgot. I said that my job is to create value. Money will chase that value. So everything I do every day is, how can I create value? That's what I do every single day of my life. How can I create value? How can I create value? So every day I wake up, I'm thinking, where can I add value today? Where can I add value today? And since then, I've never lacked money. If I need $1 million today, I can get $1 million today. Do you get what I'm saying? That's because I know how to create value at scale. And I do that, you know, sometimes almost effortlessly. So it's about understanding that your job is to become, is not to have things. When you become some kind of, it's just like, for example, if you're a king, there's certain things that come naturally with being a king. Is that not true?
Yeah.
Eh? It just comes naturally. Is that also?
So,
And that's why who you're becoming is more important than what you're having, because what you have can perish. Do you get what I'm saying? I've lost money in millions of dollars that I've lost. But still, if I still look at where I'm coming from to where I am now, it's night and day. Are you getting what I'm saying? And I've not even arrived yet. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Are you getting what I'm saying? So your job is to decide, because like I said, there's a season of your life where you will try many things. So, in fact, and not all of them will work. I've started many businesses. Many of them failed. I don't feel ashamed to say it. Do you understand? Now me, do car wash business. You know work. Now me self-fulfill, work. I sold gadgets, tablets, phones. It did not work. Do you understand? I wrote code. It did not work. I started to see people. Do you get what I'm saying? But I kept going. And I was building capacity. Maybe that's why when I took some losses down the line, I could handle it because I was used to the disappointment. You get the point now. So I was no longer startled by, any form of failure. I knew that it's a step to get better. Do you get what I'm saying? And the truth is this: the more capacity you build, the more you can bounce back from any failure. In that May 2021, when I lost that capital was everything I've worked for since I started trading in 2016. It was a very foolish trade. I had no business being in a trade of that scale. My fault, and I admit. So I was down to ground zero. Ask me, why did I carry all my money to go and take a trade? Where is risk management? Where is, but that's another story for another day. But guess what? When the dust settled, I went to my savings because I had a savings where I saved. Then I used to save 60,000 every day for my gadgets, because every year I change my gadgets, my phones, my work stuff. So I was saving 60,000 every day. At that time, I saved about 9 million in that account. I took that 9 million to 300 million within 3 months. Why? Because I had built capacity. Are you getting what I'm saying? Sometimes when I see some of my old reports that I have I'm shocked. Like, so I was operating at this level. What did I smoke that time? Is capacity. When you have capacity, you will do things that will look normal to you, but to other people, it's insane. Do you get what I'm saying? So focus on who you are becoming. Survive, because if you don't survive, dead men don't build mansions. So do everything you need to do to survive and stay alive. But don't take your eyes off the prize. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah? 2 months ago, I went and made a deposit for my Porsche. And then a week after, I lost $200,000. Like, how does that even make sense? And of course, I started having voices in my head saying, Udelo, cancel order. But I said to myself, I'm going to drive that car this year just to remind myself of what I'm capable of. Not to impress anybody, not to make anybody think, oh, this guy is a big boy. I don't care. If you see myself, I'm always casually dressed. Most people always think that I'm just a nobody. And I like that. I like to always startle people when they think this guy is not a, until you come into my world before you realize that, this guy is, let's say, is doing well for himself. Do you understand? But I don't like to signal that up front. I like to just show up. You think, okay, I'm just anybody. Fantastic. If I was in that room today, I would be maybe sitting somewhere at the back and just quiet and watching and listening to what is going on. Do you understand? That's the kind of person I am, and I love it that way. But like I said, it is who you are becoming in the process that is most important. That's why you need to focus on those little things that are shifting. You get what I'm saying? Everything you're going to achieve in your life is going to come from just 20% of your efforts. You see, the remaining 80% is noise. The rest of the things you're running about, doing this, doing that, they're just noise. Okay, yesterday night, my wife was, she was saying something. She said that in my family, that almost everybody has a PhD and a master's, except me and one other guy, That, but both of us are the richest in the family. I say, I go lie for you. It's not my PhDs and masters. It's about knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're building, knowing who you're becoming, knowing what you're putting your energy into. Do you get what I'm saying? If they're going to do anything in that family, they're going to make any decision in that family, they'll listen to us. We don't get PhD, but we get sense. Are you getting the point now? It doesn't mean everybody that has money has sense, so always learn to separate it. But what I'm saying is sometimes financial means signals that this person they're doing something right. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's why it is one of the first evidence you look for. Abi, if I'm talking to you now and you look around me and it looks like Sapa is afflicting me, you will turn off. Abi, no be so. But as I don't mention some kind of figures, you are thinking many things that this guy, those 20 million, is still alive. There's something about him. He has to be. In fact, when I told my brother-in-law yesterday, because that's the first time I was mentioning it to somebody in my family, the guy was just shouting Omo throughout. I said, oh, God, come down.
1 million times.
He said, how are you still functional? How are you still doing stuff in the family like nothing happened? And everybody is thinking that you are just not wanting to do things. I said, don't worry. There are many things that if I begin to tell you now, you will just burst out in tears. Do you get? But it's because I have built capacity. That's why I can do that and still carry my responsibility. In fact, most of the times when I lose big money, that's when I go and bless people in my family. Because I'd rather better their life than lose more money. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I understand the principle and I just do what I need to do. And that's why you need to always remind yourself or ask yourself, who am I becoming in this process? Is it money? Money is not, well, we say money is not everything. They're lying, because money is good. Money will give you options. Money will allow you to be able to make certain decisions. Do you get? You can decide, okay, I don't want to live in this place. I want to live in that place. I want to go to this place instead. So money is good. Don't let anybody lie to you that money is not. It's a lie. Money is good. In fact, Bible says money answers all things. It's not memo. It means there are questions that money can answer. Are you getting the point? And Bible says all things. So don't minimize. That's why I don't even, if you give me $1, the way I will celebrate it is like you give me 1 million. People can't understand why I have that mindset. It's because I don't belittle money in any way. Any money that comes to me is a big deal. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's a flow. You don't understand. Somebody gives you $1. is a sign that something is coming to you. So if you see it and you belittle it and think, you have killed that flow. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are a lot of things that, you know, the more you study, the more you learn, the more you understand stuff. Why are rich getting richer? It's because it's a principle. If you're rich, you will get richer. Hello? If you identify with the poor, you will get poorer. It is a principle. I do not make the rules. So ask yourself, am I poor or rich? It's not because you don't have money in your pocket, that's why you're poor. Some people are so poor that all they have is money. Do you get what I'm saying? So the fact that you say to yourself, I am an abundant being, God created me and has given me everything to be all I can be, to be a blessing to my world. See, my vision in life is to reach 1 billion people, better their lives. You guys are part of the billion people I'm talking about. I can't reach 1 billion people if I don't control certain resources. Are you getting the point now? There's no way I can reach 1 billion people if I cannot even travel to the airport. Do you get the point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? So I need to have, because the vision will determine the provision. You get the point now. I'm trying not to, let me just leave it.
Thank you so much, sir. Your question answered. Yeah, you see, gosh, it's it's really it's been a wonderful time. I can tell you again and again, and it's actually evident from everything that's been said that your mind is one of your in fact, is your greatest assets that you can have. And there is one thing he said in a meeting one day. I don't know if it's during the village series or one other class like that. So we were complaining about how much we were losing. And he said that you can lose a particular amount of money and still be functional, be in your right sense, that it's a sign of how rich you have actually become. I don't know if you remember that, sir.
Yes, sir.
And it is true, because whatever it is you have that you cannot live without, that thing actually has you, in a real sense of it. So if you have a skill, and that skill is what is giving you money, now that skill is gone, and you cannot think of any other way of making money, it's as good as saying that it was that skill that has you initially. Because if the mind that was behind that skill is still very much active, then you will know how to find your way. Look for something else. Of course, it might be rough during the transition period, but then you will know how to find your way. Because as I was saying, all of those things is gone through. I mean, everything is done before this point. And I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, I started by selling kerosene. That one that you sell inside bottle. That be able to stout. Yeah. That you sell. I was a shoemaker or cobbler. I was repairing shoes. I was teaching tutorial. So from class to where I was going to teach students for me to have money to run stuff at the end of the day. And I look at every other thing I've done over the period of time before even deciding, okay, at this point, in fact, there was a time that airdrop was what we were fighting over. We're looking for updates. Which one is giving us money now? In fact, there was one, they brought it. I was broke. Like, I didn't have money on me that time. And Glitters convinced me. Put it here. I said, this is my last card, and I don't, the way they arrange it, it doesn't make sense. He said, but he put his money, just made withdrawal now. Glitters. And I put it, go. And it went. And that was like everything I had, both home and abroad. And I put it, and it's as though the thing was waiting for me. And I packed everything. And then I called him. I said, guy, this airdrop stuff, this is what has happened. He went to check his own. And he tried to make his own withdrawal. He got the same notification. I said, no. And I told him I don't want to do this thing. No. But that story is not just for you to see how certain can get off, but to let you see that if your mind is actually what is behind those things that you are doing, if your mind is that good to get you involved in those things and get certain results, if those things are not working again, the same mind is still there and they can get you to function in other areas, find new solutions, and find new ways of getting things to happen for you. Does that make sense? So, I want to say thank you so much, Prof, for your time, for the knowledge and everything you have shared with us. Thank you so much. Now, we have actually spent some time around there, and I just want to take us. This is supposed to be a heart-to-heart conversation here, and then we're going to go through it as fast as possible because of our time here. So, this is the time for you to, from the things I'll be saying from this point forward, I just want you to look at yourself, because it's going to be basically you looking at yourself. Leave the situation of Nigeria alone at this point in time. Leave your neighbor alone at this point in time. Leave your boyfriend or girlfriend alone at this point in time, and look at you. Because the conversation we're going to be having, either you're in business or you're all by yourself, they are going to cut across those things, but basically, they are going to be about you. All right. So I have 5 things I want to talk about briefly, and the 5 of them, they are going to come on a neutral level so that you can pick your own path, right? And there are even popular topics that we have around businesses and individual life. I'm going to talk about them in such a way that it will be your responsibility to now decide if those things are actually real problem out there, or that the problem has always been with you not seeing it the way that you should see it. All right. So I'll start with this first one. We all have heard about competitors, right? Yeah. But have you ever thought of who your competitor really is? Because the common definition out there has always been that your competitor is someone doing something that you are doing. You can take, for instance, if any of you have written business plan, proposals, or stuff like that, they will ask you to go and do competitor analysis. You go and check who are the people that are in the same business. But if you have been following trend of things recently, you know that your real competitors are not actually the people doing the things that you are doing. They are the people doing things that make what you are doing irrelevant. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, if I tell you, okay, let's go this way. If you want to learn a skill some time ago, you have to go to a classroom like this. Somebody have to organize something. And they can look at other schools or other businesses doing the same thing, and they say they are their competitors. But have you thought of how many people, how many training centers YouTube has shut down? Right? Have you thought of how many taxi drivers Uber has said there's no work for you? So when you look at your competitors And I'm saying this specifically if you are into business, you have a skill that is giving you money, and also if you're employed. That's to tell you that your next competitor is not another person applying for that role. Is what AI have they created. You see, when I started data analysis, I said we are not going to train anybody because there are a lot of people that are being trained to become data analysts, but they couldn't actually analyze anything. I said, okay, instead of that, we are just going to be consulting for businesses. We don't want to train anybody. But training people seem to be the quick way to making money. And so we started doing everything that we can. Let me see. Stop recording this.